and share any insight that you think relevant will benefit other members. So this afternoon, we're privileged to welcome Tristan Tan. Tristan is a seasoned tax practitioner with over 10 years experience in structuring M&A transactions, having worked across professional services and tax teams. Tristan played a key role in creating... This afternoon, we're privileged to welcome Tristan Tan. Tristan is a seasoned tax practitioner with over 10 years experience in structuring M&A transactions, having worked across professional services. I've sort of got feedback. Henry, is that something that you come across as well? Okay. Tristan played a key role in creating Australia's first AI tax co-pilot, Luna, and advocates for the use of generative AI in tax, legal, and accounting. His strength lies in combining AI architecture knowledge with practical tax experience, and he is passionate about sharing these insights with the professions. So please welcome Tristan Tan.
Thanks, Teddy. Just making sure that everyone can see my screen. Teddy, can you confirm see my screen okay?
Yep.
Great. So hi, everyone. As Teddy mentioned, I'm Tristan, and I'm going to take everyone through the journey of AI, starting with a history of AI and then the real practical use cases. So today I really want to cover four main things, and that is taking everyone on a journey of where we are at today with AI. So I'll introduce the large language model, where we are at 2025, and then show everyone my ChatGPT and how to use it, the functions involved, and how to get the most value out of AI. So I'll talk through a bit of history, I'll talk through the large language model, and I'll show tips and tricks on how to get the maximum output based on what you feed into the machine. I'll then like to do a worked example, so showcase how I use AI to solve tax compliance matters, and then go into a tax research example where hopefully I can pull in questions from the audience and work through a main residence investment property example together, and showing how we can go from identifying a matter, writing background facts, into drafting a file note, all within the AI system. Then I'll talk through using Gen AI for admin tasks, so using AI to link to your emails and actually finding who you haven't responded to, or using AI to look at your linking of invoices. So I'll talk through that, and finally address the risks and privacy concerns with Gen AI. So here, I just want to show that things are moving very quick in the AI landscape. In 2025 alone, the businesses have adopted AI so quickly because of three main things. Reasoning models, so if you recall, DeepSeek in January this year released a reasoning model, tanked the market, but that release really accelerated where AI is heading. Then AI agents, giving generative AI reasoning models tools. So not only can it think, it can actually do actions for you, such as rather than drafting the email, it can draft and send it. And now into the thinking of late 2025 around agentic systems. How can we string multiple AI chatbots or agents together to do an end-to-end? So think of a world where we always aspire to feeding in background information and getting a tax return. That is agentic systems that we are focusing on for end of this year and next year. How do we create that? But for today's purposes, to get to that stage, I think where we need to go to is what is a large language model? Build that appreciation, and you will find that when you're working with reasoning models, AI agents, agentic systems, and creating them in the future, if you understand what a large language model is, you'll be well suited to troubleshoot those questions that you'll come across and also know how AI clicks. So it all starts with the LLM, and a lot of people don't realize that. Everyone starts with, let's go into AI agents because it's topical, but if you don't know the fundamentals, you're already 2 steps behind. So I hope to alleviate that, and then in the future, maybe talk about reasoning and AI agents and agentic systems later down the track. But to cover it all, what is a large language model? It's just a human digital brain. We've taken a lot of information from the internet because there's so much on the internet, fed it into a machine, asked it to join dots, and then in the back end, every time it provides an answer, we fine tune it. So essentially, we've gone through 3 steps. Feed it a lot of information. You, please identify the connections or relevance between all this information I'm feeding you, which is the internet up to 2024. And if you find connections, note that down, because I'm going to ask you a new question. When they ask a new question, it could be a yes, no, and we keep tuning it until it gets right. So essentially what we've done is created a digital brain, and through feedback by humans, told it yes, no, where it keeps reconfiguring itself to get to the right answer. So let's put this into Australian context. If we feed in, similar to what we did for Luna, we fed it the ATO legal database. It's learned all the connectors between the legal database. It's created a chatbot for the legal database, and it understands your instructions in natural English. So gone are the, I need to ask it a specific way. Rather, I could just speak to it in how I'll speak to a junior, and it will come back with an answer. That's the fundamental of a large language model. A trained system that has been trained on a huge data set that understands your language and has linked to the internet if it doesn't have that data to give you an output. And now, before going to the practical example, I think this is very important because many people go to me with, I'm not getting the best out of AI. Why is it not working? And I always identify into these four main pillars. The first one is prompting. They haven't asked it the right question. So you would have heard, hopefully, a lot of things about prompt engineering, giving AI the right instructions. That's very 2024. In 2025, we talk about context engineering, not just giving AI the right instruction, but have we made sure that we given AI the right context, the right documents, chosen the right model, specified the output. 2026 is all about context, memory, and making sure we give AI not just the instruction, but everything to get the right outcome. And we'll see a lot of that as I go through the worked example. But to touch on all these points, learning to prompt is important, giving it a role. So you are a tax lawyer, you are a management consultant, you are a marketer. Why that's important? Because, as I said before, we've fed AI all the data up to 2024. If you tell it that you are a tax lawyer, it will assimilate the role of a tax lawyer more closely based on all the tax lawyer style reports it's remembered and learnt of to give you something in that voice. Giving it a goal, giving it steps. So many people go, here's a tax return, tell me something about it. But if you don't specify your goal or the steps to do it such that you'll give to someone that you're working with, AI actually makes assumptions. It's guessing. If you go, here's a tax return, give me the main highlights. What is a highlight? You're assuming that AI knows what a highlight is. So importantly, setting up that goal, setting up those steps, telling it as if you would tell a new starter in your organization what you want is key to unlocking that potential of making AI give you the right outcome. Similarly to that is context. So 2026 will be the year of context. What context means is, do you know the back-end information you're giving AI? Have you attached a document? Are you asking it to review what you've told it before? Or do you have a depository, a database that you want it to link into? Knowing where your data is stored and being able to link to that when you ask your question is paramount, because if you don't do that, then AI is assuming again. If I go read my emails and identify action items, how does it know which email? Is it my Outlook? Is it my Gmail? Giving AI that context of look in this folder or look in this document is key to unlocking success in these new models. Choosing the right model. So we'll see this a lot in GPT-5. Back when I started using AI 3-4 years ago, GPT-2, GPT-3, there was only one model. Then this O3 came out, O1 came out, 4.0 came out, GPT-5, Thinking, Mini, all these models now, because we've realized that you can't have a generalist. You need a model that can, different models do different things. And knowing the right model to select to do your task is paramount in the future world of AI. How you do that, though, is you just ask AI during the chat, which model should I use? And it'll give you the right answer. So there's no science behind it. It's rather working with the chatbot itself to understand what should I do for my situation and self-serving yourself with the chatbot. And finally, this is a big one, is to specify your end output. So a lot of people tick off the first three. Like, I've given it everything. I've written the best instruction. I've chosen O3 Mini because I want to think. But then they don't go, I want an email, or I want a report, or I want a summary. And they leave it to AI to decide the outcome. Obviously, if you don't give it the instructions of what you expect at the end, similar to anyone that's newly starting in your firm, of course, it's going to come back with what they think is the outcome. And that's going to give you a bias of what you think AI has given you, because it's not what you wanted. So please, if you are using these models, write the right instruction, give it as much information and context as you know, choose the right model, and tell it, I expect this as an output. Those four things together should hopefully get you a way better answer than going, attaching a document, review this and give me a summary. And to close this off is this. So just to show you how far we've gone is on the left-hand side, that was 2024. System prompt, write an instruction, and you get an assistant message. End of 2025 and going to 2026, you can see there's a lot of things in there now. It's very messy. And to be very comfortable with using AI in the future is to be able to control what is a document, what is a tool, what memory, what are the instructions, and being comfortable with, okay, I am actually telling this AI assistant everything it needs to know to do its job and get the right outcome. If we stay in the 2024 world, there's so many assumptions that you are unable to control, and it will ultimately lead to a bias, which is, that's not the outcome I expected, AI is useless. So on that, that's the theory part of it that we've covered. I really want to get into a worked example. So let's go into a worked example together. I'm just testing here. This is my ChatGPT, and it's the Plus version. Hopefully everyone can see that. What I want to do, the first thing is to do a tax compliance example. So actually, before I do that, let's talk through this platform, because this is really important. There's a lot of buttons to press now in the AI space. And knowing where to select the right things, if you're with ChatGPT, OpenAI, if you're with another product, all of them have these selectors. So I'm going to go through that because that's key to knowing what to do when you're in this platform. So if anyone is an OpenAI user, you would have the ability to select models, as I was saying before. You can see in here, I've got about 7 models to choose from. The good thing is that it does show you what the benefits of each model are. Make sure that before you click enter, that you look at your model and choose the right one. Because I can tell you, if you use an instant model, what that means is it's not performing a deep reasoning step. Not performing a deep reasoning step means that it might miss things because it hasn't thought about your prompt. Whilst using a thinking model, when you write your prompt, it will go, Tristan is asking this, I'm going to plan it out, and I'm going to slowly get to that outcome. So just by shifting to thinking, I'm already getting a 30% better outcome. Similar to the 404103. In here, I know that an O3 model is a planning model. So and you can learn this by asking AI, which model should I use to do this task? But if I chose O3, it gives me a better structured, planned response, because O3 is what they call a reasoning model. So similar to DeepSeek, it actually thinks deeper than your instant, not as much as your mini, and less than your thinking. So just understanding what model to use at the right time and not auto-selecting is paramount to getting the success, because you don't want to be using outdated technology, or you don't want to be using the wrong technology to do a task that it's not suited for. So for my purposes, I'm going to be using the thinking model a lot, and you can see thinking is there. All of these platforms, when I was talking about context, have this plus button. And the plus button is important because it's actually asking you, what function of me do you want to use? Do you want to use a deep research? Do you want to actually add sources in here, which we'll go to later? Or do you want me to search the web? Just clicking the plus and just seeing what's in here is super important. And if you don't know what it is, just ask AI, what is deep research tool? What is create image tool? What is agent mode? And it will give you a very quick outcome, and you can use that to solve your task. So knowing that they are actually there and using them actually makes a difference in this world of AI, because 2 years ago, we could have just written a prompt. In our current year, we actually need to think about, okay, I want AI to be a researcher and write me a PhD report. I'm going to use deep research. I want AI to actually search the internet one by one and get me a summary of all the vendors. I'm going to use agent mode. I want AI to read my emails. I'm going to add sources. Knowing these things actually unlocks so much potential than just going blindly with AI as a chatbot. So let me start with tax returns. So what can we do with tax returns? So let's do it live. So when I was talking about context before, what is important is to give AI all the information it needs to help you. So I'm doing a tax return. Say I'm doing a corporate tax return, and I want AI to help me give me information about certain items. How do I answer ThinCap, or does RTP apply to me, or my client has been taken over by a foreign entity? What does that mean? The starting point isn't asking the question. The starting point is, what do I need to give AI first? And you can see in my 6 files here, I've actually downloaded the returns. I've downloaded the instructions. I've downloaded RTP because we're going to go through IDS examples, RTP examples. But the starting point is, what information do I need to actually attach first? And in the GPT world, you give it as a file. In other platforms, there's a way to attach it. But start with, what do I need to give it? So once I give it those files, it will have access to them, it will read them, and it will be able to reference those documents when answering my question. So I'm not asking a question, hoping the best that it's going to search the internet, reach for the ATO website, reach for the instructions, reach that PDF, and give me an outcome. I've gone, this is your starting point. So let's start with an RTP example. For those that are hopefully in the know, the RTP example is a reportable tax position. You have to lodge that if you have income of over a certain amount. And it's question 25 of the tax return. So say we go through a tax return and we stop at RTP, and then we go, do we need to lodge an RTP schedule? Or think of any item you have in your tax return and you're thinking, do I actually need to do something here? Because I haven't done this before for my client. So by giving the instructions, by asking I need to do something, I have already ticked off a few boxes. I haven't given a role because in the instructions of this model, I have done that, but we'll work on that later. But in here, I have gone, I need the reported tax position. I know that it's reading my documents, as you can see. It's applying the filters. It's going through those instructions. And now it will give me an understanding of the reportable tax position. Because I chose thinking, it's actually doing, you can see this thinking step. If I chose quick, it's going to give me a verbatim, very quick answer because it knows that I don't have time to spend. But because I want to make sure that I'm getting the right outcome, I'm using the thinking model, reads through the documents in more detail, it thinks about the question in more detail, and it comes out with a better set of criteria. So whilst it's thinking, I'm going to open the tax returns and then work through a few other live examples of how you can use AI to help answer certain questions of the tax return. You can see here that it actually has gone through when do I need to use. So I've got a new client. I don't know if I need to lodge RTP. I see question 25. What do I do there? By asking AI, giving instructions, it gives me the answers straight away. Yes, I could have done this if I searched the ATO website, but what I can do now is I can further prompt this. If you have information about your client, you can upload that, put it in here, and AI will give you an outcome. If you want to turn this into email, what you can do is that, okay, now I know that I had to lodge an RTP. I know I need to get information of the client. You can go one step further and go, write me an email to send to the client. Using AI as an interface. So then you go, okay, I've started with RTP. I know I need to lodge it. What's the next step? I need to write an email. Let's go do that. So think of AI as a workflow now. It's not a starting point of I need to answer a question. It's the starting point and what do I want to achieve? So you can see it's thinking through this. For the client straight away, you've got, okay, hey client, I need to lodge this. This is why you need to lodge it. These are the categories. And if anyone has done the RTP schedule, it's about 40 questions specifying so many taxpayer alerts that you need to say yes and no to. So why this is a good example is if someone has to do this and there's 30 taxpayer alerts that you don't know where they're saved, what they're about, you can use AI with linking with the internet now. So say I go, what are the RTP questions? Or category C. So a very common question is RTP, there's questions on the ATO website. What are they? They go through many taxpayer alerts. How can I get comfortable and quickly understand what each taxpayer alert is talking about? Use AI as a summary. So here, if I go web search, so now I know it's on the ATO website, I've searched the web, I've asked the question, what are the RTP questions for category C? It will go to the web, source that for me, pull it in here, and then going forward, I can ask it, now give me a table of how each taxpayer alert applies to my client. So you can see here, it goes through each question that is on the ATO website. We could have found this on the ATO website. We can go on through every single one. But here, because it's in this chat platform right now, I know question 2 talks about taxpayer alert 2015-2. I actually don't know what that is. I can click on here and go, oh, this is the ATO website and here's the questions. But actually, what does taxpayer alert TA 2015-2 talk about? If I go assume the role of a tax lawyer, for example, give me a summary of taxpayer alert 2022 in simple dot points. How we've done this in the past? Go on the website, click on the TA, read the whole TA, get somewhat comfortable on the TA, and then ask our client, does this apply to you? Within the AI platform, I'll do this. I'll put it into asking AI what TA 2015-2 is about. Gives me a summary. I read that, read this, I go, okay, now I get a better indication of what it's about. I can go straight into write me an email to summarize TA 2015-2 and ask for information from the client. So instantly, I've gone from not knowing that I need to do an RTP or identifying do I need to do an RTP to identifying what the questions of the RTP are to identifying, okay, it's a taxpayer alert. What that taxpayer alert, what does it say, to writing an information around what the key points are and explaining that to the client. And you might look at this and go, this is way too long. So all we need to do is reprompt the AI. This is too specific. Be a bit more general. Make sure that the client is clear on the outcomes, or even attach a few emails that you have in your depository and go, I write like this. I expect you to write like that too on TA 2015-2. And AI will, because it's got that knowledge, got that context of how you write, will write a better result. So like very standard, using AI as a support assistant to answer certain questions. And this can apply all the way through your tax return. Because I've loaded it with instructions for the 2025 tax return, say there's a new label, say bill to rent is in there and my client hits the bill to rent, or say say the ATO has released additional labels in item 9. So like when temporary expensing came out, they put new labels and you go, what does that label do? How do I do that? If you put the instructions into AI, put the return into AI and start and ask it, I know TFE is out. What are the ATO instructions? How do I complete it? AI can give you that in very clear language compared to reading the ATO guidelines. And then you can go further. If I have this scenario, this scenario, this scenario, what's my instruction then? And AI can then think of about the instructions, think of your scenario and apply your scenario to fact to complete, say, if you need to do a termination of intangible assets disclosure. So the first worked example is AI is a great assistant if you give it the right information. If you know what you're trying to achieve and you've given it the instruction, use it as a idea bouncer to bounce off the instructions, to know that, like say you're doing consolidation. I know there's a consolidation reference manual. If I give AI the consolidation reference manual, then rather than doing the Control F search, I can actually use English now to ask, how do the consolidations rules work? How does an ACA work? What are my lodgement requirements? Because I've given it all that knowledge and it's going to come back with something that's grounded based on the ATO document and not the website, and less likely to make mistakes. So that's the first example, which is using AI to help with a lodgement or a tax compliance issue. Where I want to step into now is using AI as a researcher. So how I want to structure this is that we're going to ask AI to help us with a investment property scenario. I'm going to start a new chat. So this is the same robot that has the 6 files instructions, but I'm going to ask it to search the web and actually answer a more tailored, specific, harder question on CGT on a sale of investment property. So you can see here is, if I'm a tax lawyer with 25 years experience, I have a client that's selling investment property that's held under its own name. The investment property was purchased in 2010 and was the owner's main residence between this year before renting it out. So you can see I'm trying to hint out this absence rule that's in the legislation. I'm trying to show that, yes, they've lived in it first, so does main residence apply? The client sold in 2025, and I need to work out the capital gain on this sale. So this is quite a general question you can get if someone is selling the main investment property that used to be a main residence. And how I've structured this is, as I said before, using the role approach. So a tax lawyer with 25 years experience, why did I pick 25? I found with my experience on using this, if you say 10, it's great, but anything over 20 gives you a better outcome. If you go 30, 40, 50, you might get pre-CGT rules, which might interrupt the AI thinking, but 20 to 25 generally gets you a very well experienced outcome. Giving it context, so then you tell it its role, you tell it what you want it to do. So the background facts, basically, of I've got this client, this is what I want, this is what they've said to me, and how am I going to think about this? You tell it what you need to do at the very end of this. So I want to work out capital gains on this sale. And when we're writing memos or when we're doing a research task, what's really important is understanding the background facts. So I've written only a few. If anyone has more, if they want to add anything to this, let me know, put it in the chat, because then I can continually add to the background facts to improve the complexity. But what we're going to do is show how we can go from this prompt into an information request into a file note for this client. So the first thing is always, okay, what is the background facts that I'm working on? Have I got all the information I need? And the second thing is, now I know the background facts, I kind of get a gist of what I'm trying to achieve. What are the rules that I need to consider to work out capital gains? As you can see here, for me, the output is a table here with all the sources, and assumptions here is very important for me, because if anything is unclear, I want AI to tell me what those are. So here I'd go through my thinking model, because this is a more complex task, and it's going to take some time. So as I work through this, I want to talk through a few things about GPT in the background that's here. So we've got if anyone is using GPT, you've got the JIT Codex, which is good for coding. So anyone that is actually doing hardcore coding in your space, Codex is the right answer. Library is where images are saved. So AI is actually really good at creating images now. So when you're thinking around, okay, I need this client to do A, B, C, and D, and you want that to be a flowchart, actually using AI to draft that flowchart is possible, and it actually comes out quite neatly. So if I had say a flowchart with 4 different tree diagram steps, I can draft that into AI. I can make it create an image, and I go create an image of this flowchart, and that will be saved in the library. And then you can see here I've got projects and then general chat. Also in here, archives and memory, which we'll go through later. But AI is actually now, or GPT is actually remembering the things that I'm telling it and committing that to memory, because it's getting a better indication of my profile. We could turn that off for confidentiality reasons, but I've been using it for 3 years. It has realized that I'm in Australia. It's realized I work in tax. It's realized I have certain niches in what I've asked it, and it uses that to answer my questions going forward. So it is thinking, it is getting better, and that memory piece is getting very important, because it's a brain, and it's trying to simulate us. But going back to this example, and if no one has anything that you want to add to these background facts to make this research task a lot more complicated than it is, you can see the first task is, what are the main background facts? So those days when the client will dump all these emails at me, all these information, and I need to synthesize that into background facts. Think about a world with AI where you can drop that in as context. So attach these emails, attach these documents, write in what I know from the client from chats, so my notebook, and tell it to write my background facts for me in dot points. So if that alone already saves a lot of time, because a lot of thinking is, how do I structure these background facts? Whilst using AI to structure the background facts, reading that and then adding your 2 cents to it, that is a very good use case that really saves time, because you're not thinking about what information to include or not include to serve the conditions of the rules that you're going to work through later. And you can see, because hopefully this is a very simple scenario, CGT, main residence, absence, AI has actually looked through the rules, given me the provisions and guidance and legislation on what I need to consider for these very simple background facts. I could add trusts in there. I can do land tax, I can do stamp duty. I'll just put that into the prompt of what are the land tax, stamp duty considerations? Are there any landholder considerations? And beef up this more complex background fact. But the benefit is that AI can actually help you pick out those things that you need to think about. Or if you haven't thought about them, it gives you an indication of what should be thought about based on the background facts that you've provided. So here you can see, rather than me having to use my experience and researching through the legal database, I've basically got a table of things that I need to consider: 50% discount, cost-based elements, non-resident discount, and working through these one by one, I should be able to get back to a better outcome for the client, or at least cover my tracks. But normally with these, this is only a starting point, right? So like a client's come to me, they've done a transaction, and I've only, what I need to do is get them answer on the CGT calculations. So this is the starting point: getting the background facts, understanding what tax rules can apply, and then applying that over the facts that I have. So assume I've got nothing. The client's only giving me basic things. What I can then do is, okay, write me an information request. So now, rather than thinking through each dot point and going, okay, what do I need from the client here? What do I need from the client here? Using AI to write that information request. What I have assumed here is that I don't have anything. If you do have something, all you need to do is, I have this. The client has given me this. I have the contract date is here. What do I need? What else do I need? And then this answer gets a lot more powerful. But assuming I have nothing, I can start with, okay, knowing nothing, what do I need to ask the client through email? And it gives me every single thing based on the outcomes of the above, to write out an information request, which I can now use my expertise to slowly cross off. Do I have the property? Do I know the legal owners? Do I know the land size? Do I know whether this was ever used for business purposes? Do I know the acquisition? And also, it helps me with the thinking of, okay, it talks about land size here, 2 hectares. I don't know why it's got that, and it's not mentioned above why 2 hectares is important. Then we go to the, okay, AI's asked this, why is relevant? And this is learning from AI. If I've never done this before, and it's the first time I'm doing a main residence exemption, and I don't know that there is actually a limit on land size, I look at this and go, why am I asking that? That's kind of redundant. Then I just ask AI, why are you asking this? Because it's linked to the internet, it's linked to Ausly, it's linked to anything that has commentary online. It uses a back-end search function, but with that back-end search function, as you can see, it's searching guardians, it's searching the main residence, it's pulling information on why I need to ask for that land size, and giving me the answer, okay, oh, that's why I need it. So then when the client comes to me, why are you asking this information? I automatically have the section reference, but also know why I'm asking it, to provide that extra bit of service for the clients without having to go into that legislation straight away and reading every single subsection to realize that 2 hectares is a limitation. So that is using AI to now. So first, we've got the background facts, we've got the considerations, we've got what do I need to ask the client, and why we need to ask certain bits. So now assume a new thing. Now assume that I've gotten everything for the client, and then I need to actually, I need to write advice or file note. So what I can do right now is, through this interaction with AI in this session, I'm going to ask it to draft my file note for me. So I have written and what that could look like from our past discussion is around writing the mission, writing the context, writing what we have, giving it AI all the information it can to help me write a file note. If I had my template, I would have attached my template going, this is how I write file notes, or this is how I write advice. This is what needs to go at the start. Now you fill in the background facts, the technical analysis, and the summary. So the mission here, if I'm going to do a simple one, is writing a file note for this client. And the client, with the context of, I want to write a file note. So basically using English to say, I need to write a file note. I want the file note to say this in case the ATO comes and challenges me on my main residence exemption. I don't know if my main residence exemption, the client could have moved in and out, or they could have had a empty investment property or empty main residence that doesn't fit the definition of main residence. So I need to protect myself as an advisor. So to write this file note, I've asked AI to, okay, write the file note, use clean structure based on the above facts, and the task is to draft a detailed file note in full paragraphs. Let's say leave all numerical placeholders. So I haven't got the information yet, and I want a file note. So all this is saying is trying to give the AI a mission, write a file note, context, here's all the information I have, and task, write the file note for me in paragraphs, not dot points, and output file note. When I was talking before, in GPT, there's a thing called Canvas, and what Canvas does is it opens a separate side, called like a side word for you to work off. So it's not bogging or in this screen, it's working on something on the side. So we'll see what that looks like when it comes out. But what I want to share with you is that we have gone from we've done a whole workflow here. We've gone from identifying client background facts to identifying using AI what considerations could there be, to identifying what information we need from the client, to taking all that, and if I had more information about this hypothetical client, to writing a file note on this client that I can save in case A2 challenges me on the main residence exemption, which is quite topical. So you can see here, AI has started to draft my file note without any templates, or because I haven't provided a template, and with no more context than I have provided it because I haven't provided it contracts or information or email correspondence. It has gone through and written, okay, here's the issue, here's the relevant facts based on what I've written, here's the law, and we've talked about the law at the top with that table that you saw of what could apply, here's the cost base, the application to client still going, it's applying that to the client. What we haven't done is given all that information, so it's going to be very general, but it's gone into the detail of how the basic information I provided could apply to this client based on the CGT event and them having the residence as a moving in and then moving out and renting it, and what we consider without asking those RFI questions about absences. So basically, we have now something that, this isn't perfect because it's in dot points, and what I can do later is to specify I want this in full paragraphs, which we can see later on. But it gives us a start to an end in this 15-minute workshop of I've got a client fact scenario, and now I have a file note with the information that I'll slowly fill out to go from end-to-end solution for this client very quickly. So you can see it's still going, privilege conclusion, because we don't have enough information, and then it would complete with they've drafted the file note, and what else do we need to add? So in my scenario here, if I did have more information, what I would do is start attaching the actual background of the client and then go update to this file note for the attached. And what that could look like is if I have, say, voice memos. So if I've called the client and recorded it, I'll have a transcript, I'll attach the transcript. If the client's giving me contracts, financials, or if I've written notes in my notebook, I'll put that in here. And then I would ask AI to, you've drafted this file note, enrich the file note with the additional information I have, and you can see AI do its magic at that point in time, which is using more information to update your file note, or this could be advice if it was in the advice format, and then getting that to the client in a very quick format or way. What I want to also talk about is if this was advice and you've written multiple advices in the past, attaching those in here will give AI the reference and sources to draft the next file note. So say I've written 15 advice on main residence for different clients covering different matters. By attaching all those 15 as context, and then I go to the AI tool, I have this new scenario, read the last 15 and tell me your outcome, give me advice. We can actually go from 15 written advice into a new advice because I've given it that context, and with the right instructions and what to focus on and the background facts, we can actually close that loophole very quickly, or that workflow very quickly based on past data. So here you can see we've got the file note drafted, and cool. And the next steps on here. So the other thing I want to work on is, okay, we've drafted the file note, but say we actually wanted to work on the capital gains tax data. Like we actually need to do the CGT calculation. So for the accountants out there, it's like I've done the legal research. I know what applies. The main residence does apply, but it only applies for a specified period. How do I actually do that in practice? And that's the next step I'm going to show you here, is that so I'll give it the role, you are a tax accountant. And do the CGT calculation. So assume that we're a tax accountant. We need to do the CGT calculation based on the above data, and then we ask it for the output, which is give me a table of what the elements are to do the CGT calculation. So now we've gone from a memo where a file note or an advice that says a fact to actually doing the number crunching. And I haven't provided any numbers here, so we can't see a real example. But if we did provide the numbers, what we get to now is it's gone through the rules, it's gone through the legislation, it knows. Sorry, I've turned on Canvas here, so that's why you're seeing it in this this darker area. But it's gone through the rules, it's gone through the implications, and it's going to give me a step-by-step calculation of what's important to work out that CGT at the end. So as you can see, this is a non-scripted, and I am working off live typing here, so none of this has been pre-planned. And very importantly to touch on is that AI does make mistakes. AI sometimes doesn't give you what you want, and it takes a bit of practice to know how to ask it or how to get the best outcome. But if you follow those 4 things I said before around prompting, knowing which tool to use, so which model to use, giving it the right piece of information and specifying the output, you'll be in a very ready state to get the outcome you intend. So here, because I don't have enough information, it's giving me all these TVCs. So once I finish all these TVCs and give it this data, then it will be able to work out, okay, the days of the main residence exemption, it'll work out the non. So there's a lot of information that I haven't included, which hasn't given me the best outcome, but you can see it covers off elements 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the CGT calculation. It talks about legal disposal costs, that if it was investment property, it hasn't been claimed, it's cost-based. So it does go through so many elements of just CGT that we're able to work off this if we were to create this in a separate Excel format. So before I go on, so this is the end of the more research intensive thing. What I really want to show before I go on to talk about admin is that AI, because it's linked to the ATO legal database, what we can do if you find yourself in a very hard background fact situation that you never dealt with is to find private binding rulings on things. So say we've gone through all this main residence example. Say the background facts got super complicated after another back and forth with the client, and I now need to go, what has the ATO done in the past? So I can go find summary of private binding rulings. So here I'm asking it to give a summary of private binding rulings that mention main residence exemption. I'm going to get a lot, but say hypothetically, if we had a more targeted background fact and you wrote that background fact in there, then you ask the AI tool, give me a table summary of all the PBRs that have similar background facts. We can actually do that here. And that's very powerful because then you can, and it will link to that private binding ruling, and you can use that as a starting point for your analysis if you ever come across situations where you are unsure of. So you can see here, it's gone to the register. These are the latest ones. Because I said main residence exemption, which is super broad, it's given me the top hits. But say if I had a trust structure, main residence, moved in, moved out, moved in, moved out, do I still get it? How do I get it? What are the days applied? I can use AI by writing those background facts, asking it to search the PBR register, because I know it's linked and connected, to give me PBR authorities that actually might work. And similarly, for people that are working in tax rulings or so not just private binding rulings, but taxpayer alerts, tax rulings, or ATO IDs, you can use this technique, put your background facts in, goes, does any tax ruling cover this? Does any ATO ID cover this? Or even the most simple ones, say deductions, and the ATO has released so many things in their publications around deductions. If you download those, put it into AI and go, okay, I have a client and they're a tradie. What are the deductions? It will go look through all that information, go based on the ATO register, here's what tradies can claim. And you've basically built a chatbot off the ATO documents. So this is a very powerful outcome for researching, is So starting from background fact to file note, and then if you ever need to, using the PBR or private binding ruling register to enrich that and enrich your knowledge. And if you're unsure of anything, not going into legislation first, but going, AI, what is this and what section applies? Using AI to summarize, similar to any tax research tool, and then going into the legislation deeply. Right. So what I want to do now is to show another part of this. So another part of using AI is now in 2025, there's a lot of connectors. And one of those connectors is Gmail. Sorry, something's on. Okay. So one of the most useful admin things that I've seen people use is, if comfortable, linking their Outlook or email. So I'm on Microsoft Copilot, which is linked to my Outlook emails. Some people who are on the Gmails can link ChatGPT to their Gmails. It's secure, but question confidentiality, which we can cover later. But when you link emails to AI, it becomes like Gemini. Anyone that uses a Gmail Gemini or a Microsoft Copilot or this linking with emails, is that I can start asking very tailored questions of, based on my emails from the last 3 days, what are the action items and who do I need to respond to? So think of a scenario where you have 50 unread emails every morning and you're trying to filter and go, who's actually asking for a quote? Who's actually providing information? Who's actually doing this? And the starting point used to be us clicking through or looking at the subject line and going, I know that client, I know that client, oh, this is that. This is a quote. I'll think about the quote later. This is additional information. I need to apply this to that. What we can do now by linking email with a large language model is use the natural instruction to filter out our emails and find action items. So here you can see through me, I've linked Gmail and it's gone through my inbox, and I've written a few of these before I started this presentation as a more dummy test, is that I've sent emails to myself going, I need to provide a fee estimate, or I need a quote and turnaround, or I need to provide fast compliance. So that's in my Outlook inbox that I put in here. But you can see by asking a simple question like this and linking to Gmail, I automatically have a filtered start of my day vision of my Outlook or inbox, knowing that if anything has fee in it, that it's high priority and I need to respond to them. I can even ask AI to draft these responses if I really wanted to. But starting the day with using AI for your Outlook email has really driven a lot of returns for people, because you're not missing things and you're finding the high priority, I need to respond with a quote for this person. When you think about quotes, sometimes it gets very difficult. You're like, okay, how much do I charge this client? If AI has, or your GPT or your large language model has access to all your past engagement letters or all your past email correspondence with fee quotes, what you can then ask is, look through my documentation and identify how much I charge for advice covering main residence exemption held through a trust. And if you've done that 50 times, you can't remember how much you charge them, your chatbot or your large language model AI tool would be able to sift through all that information super quickly, because it'll be able to find those words and then give you a table of, for client A, you charge this is what it's about. Client B, you charge this is what it's about. So it is using AI as admin, is actually using AI as a PA assistant that is instantly able to look through your Outlook inbox and give you instant context on what you did. Gone are the days of where, do you remember what I said to that person? Or do you remember how much I charged that person for this? If you write it through the large language model that has access, it should be able to give you that within 2 to 5 minutes and give you a very neat table such as this. So that's what I want to cover on the admin front. There are a lot of other implications that you can use with AI across your software platforms. Say MYOB, if you want to do more technical data crunching analysis, MYOB doesn't have like a GPT add-on. It might have its own AI add-on. But say we've got a scenario where someone's giving you an Excel. It's a huge listing with multiple columns, multiple data sets, feeding that data set into this chatbot interface and asking it, understand this data set, synthesize the data, and give me these insights. You would see that you will be able to draw a lot of information or query that document using natural language prompting or English, rather than having to do those filters yourself. So an example could be if I have 15 clients and I have in column B all their taxable income, if I had to do funky formulas to filter that, I can actually just attach that document in here and go, tell me who pays the most tax. Or if I want to create a new column for this, how can I do that? So AI in Excel hasn't been the AI add-on to Excel. It's been using AI to teach you how to do things in Excel. And that expands all the way to VBAs, writing Visual Basic macros, if you ever work with that, or if someone does send you a Visual Basic macro, you can copy that macro, put it into this tool and go, how does this tool work? So in an Excel world, currently the AI is limited, but it has the ability to help you think of those formulas that you previously had to sit there for 30 minutes going, if, and, if, or. All you have to do in the AI world is, I have data in column B. I want to do this, and this with the data. What is the formula I need to write in Excel to do this? And it will give you a formula, copy, paste, and instantly you're ready to go, rather than going through, okay, I need to do this, and this. So that's the admin and Excel point. I want to touch on the very last point before we close this, is to talk through. Oh, yes.
While we're on the admin part of it, there's a question from Julian Ying.
Okay.
How do you link Gmail to ChatGPT?
Great question. So if you're in GPT in here and settings, you would see that there's apps and connectors. So for myself, I've linked a few things to this. I've linked Bookings, Canva, but one of them is Gmail. And when you click Gmail, it will take you to the Gmail interface, log in, and then it's connected into ChatGPT when you get this connected. So I can disconnect it, but in your world, once you click on it, connect it, you will see this interface that I have. So connect it on when, and then you can go ahead with adding that sources.
I'll be off soon.
Oh. So hopefully that answered that question on connecting GPT. And whilst we're on that topic, in the settings, there's a few things that are important. Customization is super important. So for people that are using GPT and haven't put custom instructions in there, I would highly suggest you put those in. And how you put that is more so open a chat session with AI. Ask it, I want to write custom instructions. What questions will you ask me to help me write my custom instructions? And work on a dialogue with AI to draft that, copy and paste. So you don't need to think of those yourself. Just go into the chat function and ask it, if I want to write custom instructions, how do I go about it? There's schedules which has been brought in. This is very powerful for people. Like say, when you saw me do that email example, what some people have done is they've written one prompt, which is read my emails and find action points, and they schedule that every morning. Every morning, GPT comes up with, hi, these are the unread emails. This is what I think you need to do, and go about your day. So you don't really need to re-prompt that every single time. You're able to make that schedule and constantly be able to set every morning. And the other thing to here is people that are on Google platform, Google Drive is connected, Hub is connected. So if you have data in Google Drive, you're able to link that Google Drive folder in here. And what that means is, say I have a folder that has all the advice that I've written in the past, I'm able to reference that folder directly, rather than having to attach it all every single time to give it context. Cool. So I want to touch on in the last few minutes around privacy. So very importantly, I get a lot of questions around, Tristan, what's the privacy? Is AI learning what I'm giving it? What are the confidentiality measures? Should I be attaching this? Should I be linking that? And it all comes down to, first, your comfort and your own firm's confidentiality of what you can and can't share. What I can tell you is the general things is that if you're on a GPT general or a plus, that when you attach things, there is a chance that that machine is learning, maybe not from what you've attached, but definitely from what you've asked it. So by writing certain confidential information into there, there is a chance that that can get replicated. It's a low chance right now, if I had to use any terminology, because there's so much information in the models right now that it actually uses your data. It's rare that someone will spit out, Tristan put this in and it'll come out with this, but there is What we're more worried about is, have we leaked someone's confidentiality? If they asked us, have you used AI? And we say yes. And then they go, how do you know the AI is not learning from it? We would say, we don't know. So very importantly is be careful of what you attach in there if you are in that more conservative confidential range. If you go for the enterprise level, so I'm at work and Copilot. In here, I've got the plus on the enterprise. There's a ring fencing mechanism which doesn't share my data, so that's a bit safer if you want to, but it also comes with more cost. So how people have got around that is to either be super general and writing general things, so not attaching documents, but writing the general facts onto there and getting answers to general facts, or doing research tasks without showing background facts. So I'm just looking through. So that covers all I have to share. There is a lot of information here. We've only touched on AI as a tool to help. There's a lot of things that I haven't touched on, which is AI as an agent and AI performing actions and stringing those together, which is kind of the next phase of this AI journey going to 2026. But hopefully what I have been able to give people is make sure you have context, make sure you select the right model, make sure that you ask the right questions, and make sure you're clear on the output. If you're good at that, then before you start any task, the first thing that a lot of leaders and a lot of people talked about is, how can I do this with AI? And if AI doesn't do this for me, then I'll go around my normal manual process. But starting the conversation first of, can AI solve this for me, has been the big chatter of what I've seen around. And generally you'll find 5 or 6 times out of 10 that AI actually has a solution. And if you don't know if AI can help you or not, all you need to do is ask AI, I want to do this, can you do it? And normally you'll get a yes because it's always positive, but after the yes, it will go, I can do it, I can do this. And then you go, give me the step-by-step instructions to do what you are proposing. And that way you are already using AI to solve a problem. So that's all for this. I'm going to go through the questions now. So please fire away. And the first one, thank you, Michael. So in my view, how use of AI coexists with the tax agent TAS obligations on privacy and confidentiality. So I haven't looked through the TAS obligations on this. I know from a privacy and confidentiality perspective, based on a firm level, because I'm in-house right now, that we are restricted on uploading client information to a general chatbot that is not ring-fenced. So what I mean by that is this plus version in the OpenAI AI, it is not ring-fenced because there's a chance that the large language model is learning from me, so I am unable to use that. But if it is ring-fenced under security, so say that I've got the enterprise, there is protection around it, then we as a firm are comfortable in giving it firm level data because there's a Microsoft ring fence around that. So it's no dissimilar to sharing anything through with another organization through the Microsoft network. But I can't comment on how that overlays with the TASA because outside the being an agent now, I'm more in the in-house space.
Sorry, Tristan, there's another questions in relation to the when you link the email with ChatGPT, is the content going to fit into the model and accessed by the public?
So it would use retrieval. So if you feed an email into ChatGPT, will it be used by the public? The honest answer for me is I don't know. I would think that if I use Plus, it will go through the common confidentiality and there's a chance that the model will be learning from what I've asked it, not the email itself, but through the email being linked into the large language model, the outcome will be learned and that outcome will have elements of that email. So indirectly, it has a bit of, or the large language model has a bit of knowledge of what it has spat out without the confidentiality under the enterprise model.
How you compare the capability of ChatGPT versus, I guess, Copilot, which most of the firms are more comfortable to use because of the the securities of it offer, and basically is in-house. I believe the government can only allow to use Copilot on the enterprise level. So what do you think about the capability?
Great question, because Microsoft actually has a partnership with OpenAI. So Copilot actually uses the GPT-5 model. It uses the exact same model that I'm showing you right now, GPT-5. So there shouldn't be any difference. And if there is a difference, it is quite a minute difference based on quantization. So ChatGPT might have this power thinking model that Microsoft might not have unless you enable it. And that's based on IT to enable that. But at work, when I use Microsoft 365, which is linked to all my SharePoint, all my Word, all my Outlook, I find no difference between the outputs if I prompt it correctly, give it the right information, ask for the right outcomes. A lot of people ask very general questions. So like say, review this document for me, and ask both platforms, and they get a very different and bad answer. But I akin that to they didn't ask the right question, not that the model isn't doing its job.
I guess I notice also for Copilot's perspective, there's always a little things that you need to click in order to use GPT-5. So does that mean they default by not using GPT-5 then?
Yes, that's right. So Copilot, if you don't click GPT-5, what you're using is GPT-4o. So if I look through here and share, GPT-4o is the one released earlier this year, and it is a very positive and visual model. So it's very nice to use, always positive. It's like great, 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 but it's not which has its inbuilt thinking. Yes, that's right. So GPT-4o, GPT-4, it has a personality, say it so. GPT-5 is the model that has better performance. And inbuilt within GPT-5, what GPT-4 doesn't have is some reasoning. So what that means is when I ask it a complex question, GPT-4 doesn't have that ability to think, what is Tristan asking? How do I answer this question? Okay, I'm going to do it this way. GPT-4 will take it as is and then give a response based on its first understanding of it, not self-questioning itself, what is Tristan trying to achieve? So the answer is always have GPT-5 open. The reason I think that Microsoft Copilot has not enabled it is because it's expensive. If the partnership between OpenAI and Microsoft is based on how much credits Microsoft is giving to its consumers, and if all of us use GPT-5, then we're asking for 4 times more compute power, which will cost more for Microsoft. Because GPT-5, if you can ask it a more complex question, it will think about it, it will take 30 minutes to answer, and that costs probably 10 times more compute than getting a GPT-4 answer.
I noticed that there's a couple of times I use Copilot on GPT-5, and it said, "Oh, it's gonna go back and continue to thinking about it, and for quite a long time," but it doesn't actually produce an answer after a while.
Yes, yeah. There's a slight bug, and you have to refresh and redo that. So with GPT-5, what you might get it into is it gets into a reasoning loop. So it keeps thinking, and then you get to see its reasoning, but there's no answer.
That's right.
I normally do after that is please continue, and you'll continue the chat again. I think what happens is because when it goes to a loop, it just cuts it off in the back end to save itself from burning more tokens, essentially. Because as we think about it, every step is a token. Everything you see when you use GPT-5 is a function call of, I'm going to do this, I'm going to search this, I'm going to do this. And every single time it does that, it costs Microsoft money to spin that GPU.
So basically, Microsoft just cut it off.
But basically.
Right.
Or it's gone into a loop. So you have to redo those questions again.
In terms of the security part, right? So I mean, just an example, we had a AI note taker that coming into this earlier of this particular sessions, which we sort of rejected it. We have seen a lot of these so-called AI note takers that is starting to infiltrating our organization as well for some of our users. What's your thought on that?
This is a hard one because we work in tax. So the idea is that if it's a general meeting to get background facts, it's great to transcribe it. But when the ATO comes in, they've got unlimited resources to grab everything. So if your transcript was audio or recorded like what you and I have right now, and the ATO takes that as evidence, it's very hard to cut things out unless we edit it. So generally, if it's a tax planning session, don't record it. If it's a tax return, let's go through it session, then maybe record it. If it's a background facts, then what I would think is you go to the client and say, first you need to get the client's approval. Are you comfortable to record and transcribe this for my own benefit?
Yeah.
But if you're going to do that, making sure that when you go to tax planning mode, that it's stopped so that you don't say anything confidential is my personal preference. We do have accounting professions and legal professional privilege or client privilege on these things, depending on if you're a lawyer or an agent. But generally, things in planning is better not recorded because you don't know where that's going to go. And things that are background facts, I think it's good to record because background facts, then as we went through an example, you take your recording, transcribe it, because then you got all the background facts, attach it to your chat and go, update my background facts for what I've talked about. And you'll find that your whole background facts has been drafted for you without having to even move a muscle.
Well, I guess sometimes you also worry that the clients may ask the wrong questions as well, right? In those sessions.
Correct. That's right. So we drive a fine line in the tax space, at least. But for other professions that I've seen in consulting and things that don't talk about privilege and confidentiality, they transcribe most things. So what I can think of is board papers, or if you're in the clients that have more in-house space, board papers, ELT meetings, team meetings, they're transcribed because action points are automatically drafted out of those.
Yeah. So, I guess my experience is that there's a couple of these AI has, I guess, infiltrated Office 365 and starting to ask permission to embed themselves into other people's network, and starting to very much concern our organizations anyway. So we attend some meetings and they have AI enabled, and then all of a sudden our IT admin got an email and say that, hey, they want this particular AI want to embed itself into your own network, and we were like, whoa, what's going on? It's starting to really concerning.
It's a topic we didn't touch on, but IT security has become paramount in this AI days because AI is very new and people are trying to figure out what's the best way. So we want to talk about context, giving it content. Where the hackers have tried to add their ways in is if you want to link, like say Gmail is a bad example, but say if I want to link to my Salesforce data or some MYOB, and MYOB hasn't done their security right. So I may have automatically linked to MYOB, but because there's a leak in MYOB in how they link to me in my ChatGPT, that's where the malicious content comes in. And it's only going to get more complicated because if you don't appreciate the back end of what is happening in the system, then you're going to get a lot of what they call prompt injections or malicious things coming in that you don't see because it's not shown in your output. It's only shown in the brain, in the back end, on the server that you don't see.
Okay, I think that's the new kind of hacking, is that right?
Yeah, it's a new kind of hacking, and the community and IT security are all across this. So it's not like us as tax professionals should just be comfortable with what we're sharing with AI and how we're using it. But in terms of the malicious attacks and all that, that's an IT security risk that they have defended for. Otherwise, they wouldn't roll out the software.
Fair enough. Okay. Teddy, you have any other questions?
No, I'm all right. Yeah. Look at the chat box. There's no other question. I suppose it's very practical and people sort of get to the point.
Yeah, no, I think it's a lot of learnings to be done. In terms of the prompts, I mean, it's probably have to be try and error, right? Is there any way that you can sort of find to say or to find a list of working prompts? Because obviously it's very dependent, but also somehow we can learn how to structure it in some way.
The internet's full of them. What GPT-5 or OpenAI has released is a GPT-5 prompt optimizer. So that is, put your prompt in and it will write it in a more optimized format.
Okay.
So that's something for the group to chat on. What I have found that helps is you don't even need a prompt optimizer. Sometimes when you go to your start a new chat and go, I want to achieve this, write me at the best prompt. There's no one better than writing a prompt than the actual chatbot, to be honest. And it actually does work. So what you need to just be a bit more clear on is the lingo. So like, do you want a single step prompt or a multi-step prompt? But I found a lot of power in, I know what I want to do. I just don't know how to prompt it and what to give it. So you remember my things, how to prompt, context, model. You actually ask the AI that question. I want to do this. What is the best prompt? Which model should I choose? What is the best outcome? And you will see AI draft a very well-written prompt for you that you copy and paste and attach your actual docs, and then you go ahead.
Wow.
The
Jeez.
other function I didn't share in this one is there's a lot of capability around voice, which is there's a function in GPT and in most of the platforms where you can actually talk to it and it gives real-time feedback. So anyone that has that and GPT, OpenAI's ChatGPT, please test the voice function, not the dictate function, but the voice function where it's actually, if people look on my screen, it's down here, voice mode. And when you turn on voice mode here, you're having a proper one-on-one dialogue with AI that can respond straight away and is linked to the internet. So I could turn that voice on. It uses the old 4.0 model, so not the thinking model. But if I just need something basic like search the web, go to the ATO legal database and find me PBRs on this, it will be able to do that. Or if I go, I've gone to a client, I've had a really great chat with them, they want me to do A, B, C, D, give it a full brain-dump, and then go summarize what I just told you in simple English. You'll find yourself having a lot of productivity because say you're in your car, you talk to it on the spot in your car, give it everything that you've told it, and the AI summarizes that into a notebook. And then you go into your office and you go copy paste. I've got the background already.
There's a lot of learning.
Yeah. So there is, as you say, Henry, when I showed the roadmap before, all these learnings is 3 years of me following it every single day, prompting it every second, every single day. You can't expect to get to this marginal, really productive point in time right away. It's a starting point of first committing to using it, then committing to, before I engage in something, can I use AI to do that? And then writing down, what do I actually do? Like today, I'm going to review all my inbox. I know I can read one at a time, but maybe I use AI. Or today, I'm going to do a research task for this client with this background facts. I need to look through the ATO legal database, find all the tax rulings, find all the legislation, and then go around my research. Maybe I can use AI to do that. So finding those things that you do in your day-to-day, and then ring fencing which task you can use AI to do to slowly build that appreciation of what it can achieve is the working stones of being able to string your whole process together.
Okay. Teddy?
Very interesting, yeah. All right. If there's no other question, I think we might close the meeting. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of prompting to do.
Yeah, that's right. So the only thing that we don't have is Tristan, your contact details, just in case the members wants to get in touch with you for more detailed information. Yeah, obviously you can. I mean, Henry's got your email, and if it's okay, if we send it out to the members so they can get in touch with you if they need to.
Yeah, of course. Feel free to send me an email, add me on LinkedIn, and send me a chat on LinkedIn. I'm very happy to talk through use cases that we weren't able to go through. I've only gone through very general ones, but as someone gives me a more specific one, I could be more specific on the response of, actually, AI, you can use AI this way. And that just comes with learning and a more of a tailored use case. So yeah, feel free to email me or connect, and hopefully we go on this AI journey together.
Beautiful. So thank you, Tristan, for sharing your expertise, your time, and your insight with us this afternoon. And your valuable contribution has given us plenty to think about as we continue to explore the AI, what AI can do and can help our practice on the day-to-day basis. So To everyone who has joined today's session, thank you for your participation and continued support. And if you like to learn more or have specific questions, as I said before, you can contact Tristan directly. I'm sure he'll be very happy to assist you. So thank you for attending tonight's session, and we look forward to see you guys again next month in our final session of the year. Gee, I can't believe we're just 2 months away from the
Christmas,
end of
yeah.
the year. So time flies when you enjoy what you do. So until then, stay well, stay informed, and stay connected. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Tristan. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.